Hello and welcome everybody to the US Soccer Podcast. Join us here every week for in-depth interviews with the players, coaches, and personalities who grow the game at every level, from USMNT women's national team to the youth and extended national teams, which we'll be talking about today and beyond. My name is David Goss, and I am here with a World Cup winner and USWNT legend, Meghan Klingenberg. Kling, how's it going?
Hi, David. It's good, and it's really nice to see you again because we have been absolutely knocking it out of the park when it comes to connecting. I was just walking down the street, last night with my partner going on a date. And all of a sudden I'm in Brooklyn and I hear, Kling! And I'm like, oh my God, who is this guy in a van yelling at me? And I turn around and lo and behold, it's David Goss. He's here for his sister's wedding. He's yelling at me from a busy road right next to the park. And I look over and he's like, look, there's my sister. And we see her in her wedding dress with her husband, and they're taking wedding pictures on the city bikes. You cannot get more New York, more Brooklyn than that.
Brooklyn, baby. Yeah, it was a full experience, and it was only amplified by the fact that I saw Meghan Klingenberg as I left the ceremony and was waiting to drive them from Photoshop spot to photo spot. It was the perfect capper on what was a perfect day. So congratulations to my sister.
Congratulations.
And I'm glad that I got to see you there and hang out with you as well before we could chat, as we learned this weekend. We could chat for hours, but we have a busy show coming up. So we have the head coach of the U.S. men's deaf national team, Everett Palache, who was a phenomenal interview. I'm enamored with him. I want to play for him. I want to talk to him forever. And we have a little breaking news on this show as we officially received the U.S. men's national team roster for the upcoming September friendlies against Japan and South Korea, both in Harrison, New Jersey and in Columbus, Ohio. So if you haven't yet, go to the ussoccer.com website and you can get your tickets there. We have a unique roster, I think. A lot of names that maybe we didn't expect to see, some names that are familiar as well. In total, 22 players have been announced so far, with one addition to come. 12 of the players on the roster returned from the squad that earned a runner-up finish at this summer's Gold Cup. 5 players have gotten their first call-up in this year, and 4 new players in total. Kling, big picture, how excited are we to have some games back?
I'm just excited to see senior national team games again. Men's national team and then women's national team next month. I'm just excited to see really high-level soccer being played.
And the highest level, the first name that jumps off the list is Christian Pulisic. Was not a part of the group at the start of the summer, was not at the Gold Cup, and is the cap leader in this team, and of course one of the faces of the national team. It is a big story that he is back into the team. What do you make of what he has to accomplish and sort of what this experience will be like for him?
Obviously, there's a lot of outside noise about his kind of summer of rest and kind of getting back to the space where he wants to be as a player. I find it admirable that he's wanting to be at his best and is able to take that time. But when it comes to going into a camp, especially with this many new players, he just needs to be himself. He just needs to show up and be exactly who he always is, be the leader, be the person that USA looks to on the field for goals, for connection, for all the different things that he does for this team. He just needs to be that. I think that when you get into a camp, you start to isolate yourself from that outside noise and you just come together as a group. And I'm sure that's what we're going to see with those guys in this camp.
Well, the Gold Cup was a huge moment for this group under Mauricio Pochettino. First opportunity in a fully competitive tournament, making it to the final and the big final against Mexico as well. Love seeing those players continue, as I said, to get more opportunities, but also very exciting for the players who have not been around this team to get their first chance to try and fight into the team. Especially you look at the goalkeeper position, Roman Celentano and Jonathan Klinsmann looking for their first caps of their career. You have players who have been around the team before, but not in 2025, like Alex Zendejas and Sean Zawatsky. Tristan Blackman looking for his first cap in his second call-up as well. Kling, from your experience, from what you've seen from other players, from your own experience coming in, what is it going to be for these new players? How do they get themselves in the right space mentally? How do they handle this camp?
I'm sure they're going to be nervous because who wouldn't? It's like a dream coming true. And at the same time, it's the very best position that you can be in because nobody expects anything of you. Nobody expects you to score the game-winning goal. Nobody expects you to be the best player on the pitch. You can just show up and play. And there's something to be said about players who are able to just get out there, play without thinking. It's oftentimes when we play our best soccer. And when you're a rookie, when you're a first-time player, you don't have those type of expectations that the Pulisics do. And so you actually get to see this like unencumbered side of this new person who is just playing free. It's a really beautiful thing to watch, and I'm excited to see how these players handle that situation.
It is going to be an exciting one. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Reminder, those two games coming up next week in Harrison, New Jersey and Columbus, Ohio. So go to the US Soccer website to get your tickets. And of course, you can watch them on TV or listen to them on Westwood One Radio. But let's dig into our big interview now. Let's talk to the head coach of the U.S. men's deaf national team, Everett Palache. Well, Everett, thanks so much for taking the time to join us. We're so excited to talk to you about the men's deaf national team in the run-up to the Deaflympics. But we have to start with your journey. We got to go back to the beginning. Where did you grow up and how did you get introduced to this beautiful game?
I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, and I was introduced to this beautiful game. Oh, you love Cleveland, especially
I don't know, Everett.
as we grow into this
maybe
conversation.
We were going to be. I thought maybe we would be frenemies. This pod.
I love that.
I'm from Pittsburgh, so
I've gathered that little by little, and I have a very close friend from Pittsburgh, so we have a friendly banter as well. So we can lead into that as we go forward.
love it.
But yeah,
Feel free to put as many jabs in as possible throughout the show.
we could do that. I like that. We're setting this up to be very casual and fun. Yeah, no, Cleveland, Ohio, is where I grew up. Family introduced me to the sport. I am the son of two Jamaicans. So being of the Jamaican family, it was always around, it's in the backdrop. My dad lived in London, England for 30 years. My mom was in Paris before they connected. So I got that cultural background that really helped it. And then just had some really great mentors along the way that kept me in the game. Played every sport like a typical, I would say, American athlete would do. Football, basketball, everything but baseball. I couldn't sit still long enough to do that one. But overall, yeah, I got introduced to it in Cleveland, traveled through club, opportunities to play in college in Philadelphia, which I enjoyed immensely. And again, I had great people that had me a chance to go to Helsingborg, Sweden, run around there for a little bit as a young teenager, and the passion just stuck. So yeah, thanks to my mom, my dad, my family, and then some great mentors along the way. Soccer's kind of been my passion and my love, other than my family, of course. Yes.
Him playing in Philly, does that make it even worse? Now it's Philly and Ohio?
I know.
We got her bookended.
Are we even going to be able to release this podcast? I don't know at this point, but it feels
Breaking
like
news, violence via digital podcast.
I know. I can't wait to be able to caption this pod next. I'm going to be going hard in the captions, just so you know.
Okay.
But
Cool.
I was just wondering, it seems like you've had so much more exposure to soccer at a young age from your parents than a lot of people did growing up in your generation. I was just wondering, who is your soccer hero? Who were you trying to emulate? Who'd you want to be?
Oh, great question. When I was growing up was Claudio Reyna as a player. The Snickers commercials, the training aspect. That's still in my mind. See him doing the toe taps on the ball in the gym with the Snickers commercial. And just kind of that era of just kind of grit. Like you said, my family kind of brought me up in a culture where, you always got to be getting better education, doing stuff and working hard. But also a guy by the name of George Heath. Not too long ago retired as a VP at Sherman-Williams, but he was my first coach. Before he got all these great accolades as a business person, he implanted in my head of like, hey, you're only as tired as your brain tells you you are. Right. And that really stuck with me throughout the year. So between the idol on TV of like, you want to run hard, be a midfielder, and like have the US soccer kind of thing in your life, that was that. And then my day to day, mom and dad got me in front of the right person. His name is George. And to this day, he's my mentor. Just had his 60th birthday and was down at the House of Blues here in Cleveland, Ohio, where we have
Oh,
great
no.
music in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Because we do those great things here. You know,
I
we have
will
bridges.
concede that point.
One for the Cleveland guy. But yeah, those would be my two that kind of pop out of my mind as far as idols growing up, because he was a coach and a mentor in that side, and really kind of instilled my basic principles that I follow today. So,
Well, that takes us to the obvious next question, which is a lot of people play. They
Mhm.
don't think of coaching, or they don't want to coach, or they can't, or they try and they don't. Did you always think you wanted to coach? Was it emulating your mentor that got you there? Like, what was the stage from playing to coaching for you?
wow, man, I'm loving this podcast already. The answer to that question was life, David. Honest to God, no, I did not think I was going to be a coach. I actually ran a finance company, Series 7, Series 6, running around with investments, loving my life. And then my alma mater connected with me, a high school here, a little bit outside of Cleveland. And it just blossomed from there. I was doing the financial gig. You could figure as a young guy, you know, making calls, doing stuff. But I go out on this field at night, and I was just falling in love with what I didn't know was a process at the time, right? I was a JV coach. My competitive mentality, again, you're asking me something in hindsight here, so I'm gonna have a lot of detail for you. But I was a JV coach. With every day I went to that job, that opportunity, I wanted to beat the varsity team, you know, and I didn't realize what I was doing at the time, but I was like pushing the envelope, because my head coach, amazing guy, David, at the time was like, hey man, these guys aren't supposed to beat us. I said, yeah, they are. Like, that's how we know if they're any good, and my guys should be on your roster. So yeah, no, it's just I fell in love with it at my alma mater, found like I liked it. Spilled over to that same coach introducing me to another gentleman named Ali Kazamani, former Cleveland Force player. If you guys know the old indoor league,
do.
right? So Kaz was with the Force. They had a club here. And then he's like, hey, you want some extra coaching gigs? I said, sure, why not? And then from there, I just followed I've been an education guy. I was super blessed, you know, to go through college and try to be an overachiever, as my mom and dad set me up to be. And I found out about these licenses, and I was like, whoa, I can do this. This is like, there's a school, and I love school. And so the next thing you know, the next decade of my life, I was in coaching school. And that's it. So it went from going through an academic world. Why I say this is an amazing story, because my mom and dad sat me down. Again, I'm in finance. I'm doing okay for myself. And I go, guys, I think I'm going to go to soccer. My mom said, you going to do what? And
As moms do.
as they absolutely do. And she said, how are you planning to make money, son? And I said, I don't know that answer yet, mom, but I think I'm going to be happy doing it. So yeah, that is my journey. It was going back to my alma mater. It was having, again, great parents. And then US Soccer, honestly, at that stage of where I was, they had a pathway that allowed me to see there was a progression. You know, there was something that I could do, and I had to take that leap of faith like any other job. And I would say, if this gets out the other, and when it does, like if there's others inspiring to be coaches, there's an opportunity there. There's sacrifice like any job in the world. But there's definitely an opportunity. Find good mentors, find a great environment that's willing to grow you. And then, you know, lean into what US Soccer has provided. It does help.
That's so cool. We talked last week to Tiffany Sahedek, and she also talked about how she kind of fell into this role. She didn't expect to necessarily be doing this, and that's something that is just so cool. And I'm excited about this because I'm kind of in between soccer and my next thing. So I'm like, oh, what's my thing going to be? But one of the things that really struck me you were talking about was how you went from finance to soccer. It seems like such a big leap. But I'm wondering, are there similarities between the finance world and the soccer world that you were able to bring into coaching?
100%. I'll get a little, you know, off the path and bring us back. Sun Tzu, Art of War, right? Something I learned the business and strategy side, that then when I got into coaching, I started to think about the opponent, think about myself, think about the elements, right? Same thing in finance. You're thinking about the person you're working with. How do I support that person? What is the current environment of the investment world, right? The ups and downs of those things. And then I started to think about the athlete. This is me, a much more mature coach. When I first started this out, I wasn't thinking that way, but I was deploying the same strategies of preparation before you go into a training session, what the training session would feel like, that experience in finance. If I sat with you guys of like, hey, do they enjoy me? Are they enjoying the services I'm trying to provide? And then in the outcome, what's success? People making money, and in soccer is winning, right? And it is not making money, it's maintaining what you have to the best of your ability, and it's maximizing potential. So I've thought deeply about those things over the years, but absolutely the business world definitely connects to our sports world. And as I said, the education pathway of US Soccer has helped me refine that a ton. So as you're looking at that new part of your soccer world, I think between all the new educational pathways, the extended national teams, opening up our minds, business is the same thing. You're always trying to be innovative, right? But you got to stick to your core principles if you're going to be successful. So, yeah, I definitely think there's a correlation between what I learned in that world and set me up to be successful here. And if I can expand on that, my background is psych, pre-law, and finance. As I said, I loved school.
Covering it all.
Yeah, and at the time, you don't know what the hell you're going to do, right? Taking an LSAT to taking a Series 6 test, whatever it might have been in my lifetime, right? Those are all blessings. Yeah, they all definitely have impacted me on how I work with people and, how we do things in the sport, for sure.
I like the psych stuff more than the finance stuff as someone who hates numbers. It seems more fun. Is it more useful? Is it less useful? How is that connected to the way you coach and interact with your players?
So it's a broad question because of my roles, right? So let's Def men's national team, the psych has been by far the most important one. But the finance helps me stick to a process and outcomes, right? But by far, I think of myself today more as a sports psychologist and coach than I am of a tactician most of the time. You got to surround yourself with others. So the psych part is just managing the different environments, and then being a part of the Deaf men's national team has really opened my eyes to a whole nother community, right? A whole nother world in that sense. And it's allowed me to be adaptable, which is one of my core values of being adaptable in what we do. So yeah, my relatability to others, to think about others, have empathy, think about those things have definitely influenced the way that I teach, right? And I use that purposefully because there's coaching and there's teaching, right? And as a psychologist, you're trying to teach people the best practices to solve their own, mental, desires, if you will. Football is the same. How do I get my athletes to perform at the right time? How do I keep them calm, relating to the information and driven? So in the community, in our team, we have an acronym we use, which is based on the DEF, DEAF, drive, effort, adaptability, and faith. That stems from my psych background of looking at the individual and figuring out how we create some core language so that I can adapt to the different personalities and different geographical locations we have, right? So if I have a young man from California or one from the East Coast, you better be able to think about that. Not from a financial standpoint, even though that does have impact on the different sides of the coast, but as humans. Yeah, how do they function as humans? Very important.
You have opened up some doors that we are excited to dig into and to get into the nitty-gritty talking about this Deaf national team. But in just a moment, first we want to remind our listeners that on September 9th, the U.S. men's national team is back in Columbus, Ohio. Ohio, once again, taking on Japan at lower.com field. Columbus is known as the Fortress for a reason. The U.S. has a long history of winning big matches there, and the energy is always electric. So you can get your tickets now at ussoccer.com/tickets and be a part of the action as the USMNT defends home turf against Japan. I have been to many of a USMNT game in Columbus, Ohio. It is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. So if you're in the area, get your tickets. If not, get ready to travel to Columbus and go to what is going to be a big game. But let's dig into your team, Everett, because you've got some big games on the horizon as well. And let's start with how you got involved with the extended national team and sort of what is the men's deaf national team for people who don't know.
Yeah, I got involved through the grace of the pathway at the end of the day. So through the Academy Director's course, through different coursework throughout US Soccer, I made some great relationships And hopefully, based on them giving me the opportunity, I got a chance to sit in that seat. I learned a little bit about the extended national team through a colleague, Trisha, who's with the CP women's team, who she and I worked together at the ID2 program, which just goes to show the diversity that U.S. soccer has provided in the soccer landscape to try and provide opportunities to players and coaches, right? Because I definitely benefited from that. Ran into Stuart, who he and I shared time during the Academy Director's course. And I know he was on with, I think, Morgan just recently. So then Stuart and I met after the application process, and lo and behold, here I am. I'm in the seat as a head coach of the Deaf men's national team, growing and learning every day. So again, it's that pathway, it's people driven, things like that. Question 2 about our team. They're amazing. I can summarize that. They're the coolest guys. They're awesome. They have a ton of fun. There's so much legacy and history behind the team that I think people should really dive into when they get a chance. I speak about guys that are currently like fundraisers for us. Trip Neal was one. We have Will Friends, guys that before U.S. Soccer was involved with this deaf team, they were traveling to Brazil. They were doing different things and playing different countries and raising money, guys. Like, they were the true pioneers of like what grit and desire and football is all about, because they didn't have all this backing from U.S. Soccer. So the team has definitely embodied that legacy. We use that word a lot to like lean into that. And as a result of that, you've seen these young men and some older men relative to sport really just buy into the psychology, the values, and the methods that myself, Coach Roberto De Silva, who's my assistant, and Bryce, our goalkeeping coach, have really instilled. So that's why I open up. They're just amazing. Like, the team is out of this world as far as like drive, effort, adaptability, and faith right now. And we're excited about this opportunity to represent the U.S. in Tokyo at the Deaflympics.
So this is something that I was so interested in when I first heard that we were going to be talking with you, is talking about the legacy of the team, how you fundraised up until this point when the U.S. Soccer Federation took over and started funding the team. That's something I really want to dig into in a bit. But first, I think it's important to know more about the team and how hearing loss can take different forms. So I was just wondering which players are eligible for the deaf national team, and how does it work exactly?
Yeah, I'll do my best there. So 50% decibels of lost hearing in your ear, in your dominant ear, right? So if it was all of us on this call, my right ear was at like 3% and my left ear was at 70%. I still could go in and get an audiogram and come in because you're hard of hearing at that point, right? Because you have that loss in the one ear, and you have partial loss in the other. So you really just want to think about anyone that has a hearing aid, cochlear implants, and obviously fully deaf. There's a high probability that you would qualify, because there's a categories of fully deaf, hard of hearing, that give you the opportunity to be a part of the deaf men or women's national team. So going to ECNL events or MLS Next events and things like that, you're basically like looking around like, they have a hearing aid. Let me check out and see if they can come and play for us, kind of thing. So that's really the hearing loss part. How does it impact the game as a whole? I've learned a ton about that. Most of us as able hearing athletes, or those that are in the sport of soccer, and I use football on a regular basis, so hopefully that translates here, is scanning. You always want your athletes scanning. Like, this, like the biggest thing in coaching right now, or countermeasures. Like, hey, if they do that, what happens next? These guys are fantastic because it's like their life. They're always checking their surroundings, the level of communication of reading body language and lip reading. For example, I have a couple younger athletes that just came in, 17, 18 years old, because we're building for the future. They don't know ASL yet. There's a thing in the community too. Like, everyone thinks that if you're deaf, you know ASL right away. I used to think that, but the reality is there's a lot of our kids that are integrated into, hearing communities right away because of cochlear implants and the technology we have today. So in the environment is teaching ASL, learning it if you don't know it, right? How it impacts is that we're more adaptable. We're learning. It's a community. So those that didn't know ASL or they weren't used to it, they're finding their identity within the team. So that's evolving our legacy. as well, right? So yeah, 50% hearing loss, hearing aids, cochlear implants, you're probably eligible. You could play anywhere. I got guys in UPSL leagues, MLS Next leagues. Young man at the Central Arkansas just got in there. So there's a diverse community of athletes that are involved. And yeah, hopefully I answered your question well enough to say, like, there's definitely opportunity, and main thing is that 50% loss in an audiogram. Got to do that. And send me video if you're interested. Need video.
Definitely. I think what's fascinating to me is that there's sometimes when I was playing, we would be in these big crowds, 25, 50,000 people, and I couldn't hear the person next to me. And so it really affected the team because when we're practicing, there's nobody there. We're always able to communicate. We're yelling at each other, telling each other man on or turn or all these different communications. And we really rely on that. And it feels like this is something that the NWSL, the men's national team, women's national team, they could learn from the deaf national team. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes. So my little sign language, yes. And I understand what you are saying right now because you nailed it. A guy named Evan Bush, backup keeper right now with Columbus Crew. All right. I had a conversation with Evan over coffee. We share some space together. He actually, I actually coached him when he was younger because I'm a little bit older than him. But all that to say this is he said the same thing because I was concerned about my defensive line, as you would understand. My goalkeeper, I want to play with a higher line, not to talk too much soccer jargon, so the keeper's got to be there. But in hearing environments, the keeper usually would yell out some commands. Well, you can't just turn around and go look at the goalie to find out what's going on.
Right.
So you're absolutely right. We all get benefits. So what I have learned, I'll give you two parts. One, we have a common language we've been building in our environment so we can communicate quicker on how we want to do things, right? So this breaking lines, or if I want to break a line like that, or if I want to change the shape to go to a diamond in the midfield, they start to build relationships better, as you would or could probably relate. If my 2 and my 7 are in the same vertical line, how often can we check in with each other to understand what the quality of opportunity is? For instance, in your position, if you had to go with a winger that was ultra fast against you or something like that, you were like, hey, center back, you got to come over here and help me out a little bit or something. And they start to do that much faster through that language. And again, if you don't sign and then you come in and you have to learn it, that's been such a special moment. Our interpreters have been amazing with that as well, with helping me grow and do that. So you're absolutely right. And Evan helped me understand the same thing you said as Everett. Keep in mind, when I'm in the stadium, those guys can't hear me. I went, whoa, yeah, you're right. This is no different, right? And it kind of just let me relax a little bit because I was trying to find this like secret answer of like how I'm gonna get them to talk. And then I realized I'm like, wait a minute, all of us at the highest levels, we had the same problem. As much as
Yeah.
you look at Pep and those guys yelling on the sidelines, the guy on the other side can't hear you.
Oh, definitely not. I'm going to send this to so many coaches I know because I mean, I laugh. I genuinely cackle at the TV when I see players running out with these little slips of paper in their sock. And I'm like, there must be a better way. And I feel like Everett and the, deaf national team has cracked the code.
There was, I just have to throw, there was a moment, Seattle Reign scored 13 seconds into the second half last game, and Laura Harvey immediately jumps off the bench and is screaming at someone a direction. It's like, first of all, you just had halftime. Nothing changed. And
Right.
second of all, no one's listening to you. Your team just scored. They're celebrating. So, yes.
Yes, and what a great game that was, by the way. If you watched
Yeah.
the whole thing, that was a great game. But yeah, you nailed it, guys. You nailed it. Like I do. Since I've come into this, I want to speak to that. Is my coaching in my home environment has changed 180 degrees. Don't get me wrong. These are kids in America that are learning the game. You got to give out some instruction. I don't have 1,000 fans or 30,000 fans around me, so I can clearly they can hear me. But what's the point? To your point, halftime, just end it. Let the kid play. What am I going to add other than stress to this individual? Because when I first started coaching the deaf men's team, you could see me in film, like running up and down the sideline, like, hey, guys, look at me. And then I start to like realize like nothing bad's happening ever. Just let it be. And then I've become more detailed in my training development, right? So when I prep for training now, the level of detail I go into not to be geeky, but on the individual level, the line level, and the team level. And I've been helped by Stuart and Morgan, the people inside the environment, to really think about my staff and how they impact things. It's really just changed how I even come home and think about my operations director or our physio or this person, and getting my staff to really start thinking holistically about how all of us in preparation impact our delivery so that the tempo of the game is dictated by the player. That's something that I really think has been special when you think about language and how language has impacted, our development as a deaf men's national team. And the gentlemen, the guys have really, I'm telling you, it's been amazing to see gentlemen that we met that had no desire to really get in the sign to coming out of the camp going, Coach, did you see me sign in the other day? Yes, buddy, I saw you sign in. It was fantastic. So it's translating. It's been fun.
I feel like what's so interesting and amazing about these ENTs, especially ones like the deaf national team, is that it changes the landscape just a little bit. So it's soccer. We're all watching soccer. We all love soccer. We know how it works. You have a body, you have a ball, you try and score. That's the game. And it's beautiful. But if you change just one piece of it and you start thinking about it in a different way, I feel like it opens you up to so many more options of seeing the game in this like bigger picture sort of way. And that's what I'm hearing from you is that you have started to think about the game differently due to your involvement with this national team.
That's 100% accurate. Yeah, I don't know if there's much more I can add on to that than what you should clearly stated. Yes, my head has gone like pow, like whoa. You know the old saying, guys. You think you know, but you really don't know. The wise ones are the ones that say like, yeah, there's more for me to learn. This has just opened up that pathway more in my mind, and I'm an eternal learner. I feel like I try to be, but this has made it more relevant to me of like everything that I read, from Carol Dweck, growth mindsets, to Renee Brown, being vulnerable, to, throughout the names of all the people I'm sure leaders and people around the world read. Yeah, it's expanded me to think outside the box on how I connect with people. That psych side again, David, like that has been really important to help me really think that even this opportunity coming up on October 26th at 1 p.m., the doubleheader with the women, right? What an amazing opportunity for these gentlemen to show the deaf community football while being deaf, right? Is because there are these perceptions and things like that. A game might look like this, or what are their deficiencies? But when they get a chance to showcase that, it's like, I could do that. It's very similar to the other groundbreaking things that have happened in our sport. Um, from the women's national team with our 99ers and all these other beautiful things that have happened to open up the game. And these gentlemen and the women, when they had their chance, have opened up doors to say, yeah, there's an opportunity here to represent your country. And you don't have to be on Emma's or Pochettino's team. There's the extended national team for CP, our beach program, our futsal, our deaf community. Really, like there's so many things that these gentlemen and these ladies have opened up for us. So yes, it has made my mind open up to a new community that's been right next to me for a while. And I want to add one last thing to that is I've learned more about CODA families, so fully deaf parents with hearing children. I have 2 in the club. We have deaf children club. It wasn't in my purview until I had this job. And all of a sudden you're like, whoa, hold on a second. Hold on. And now there's this inspiration going on of like, how do we adapt our environment at home to be more accessible? Yeah. So again, you said, yeah, my brain has opened up and I'm trying to multiply this frequency in my mind to others and hopefully make more spaces for the deaf community and other ENT programs that we have as well.
This is great, and you are fascinating. And Kling has a lot of ammo right now to use against other coaches, but let's talk about players, right? We want to talk about the players. How do you go about assessing your squad throughout the year? You mentioned sort of popping up at different youth development spaces and trying to find new players, but like, what does the player pool look like and what's the experience for the players? And then we'll start to get into some names of who we should be buying jerseys of.
Oh, I love that last part right there. So yeah, Mikey Smith, let's just start there. You need to buy his jersey. He's a local boy from Cleveland because, we don't have many Pittsburgh guys. We have a Philly guy that I love as well, but no Pittsburgh. So we got to work on that one.
Kling, this is on you. You need to develop the game.
Yeah, I'm going to be going on some Pittsburgh sport radio and being like, listen, I need people to be signing up because you're letting me down.
Yep.
And I need you to be on that deaf men's national team representing.
Yep, or the women. Don't get them wrong, because they're undefeated.
well.
They set a standard, Kling, that I am chasing. I don't
I
want to
know,
lose a
they're
game
amazing.
because they're unbelievable, right? So yeah, the player pool. There's so much there to unpack. How do I assess them? Performance data. So number one is amazing sports science program and department and leadership inside U.S. Soccer. So one of the gentlemen that leads it has created a program, because I want to really track acceleration and decelerations for me. And the why behind that is we live in a culture of a pressing mentality, right? So if I could track your acceleration ability to decelerate at a high output, they have all these fun measurables and stuff. That's one of the criteria that I'll lean into once I bring the player into the camp. How do I identify them prior to that? U.S. Soccer has an interest form. Please go to the website if you're interested, check that out, and send in information. And as I had mentioned earlier, film is so important, right? Like in any scouting environment, you're going to have a wide variety of people that are interested. So myself and my assistant coaches, we do scurry through those film to look for a specific profile based on, again, game model, game idea, what we're trying to do as far as the team is concerned. So interest form, we'll get out. We've had a conversation with the ECNL. We look forward to meeting with MLS next to at least get the word out, because we have an amazing infrastructure here in the United States. We're massive, right? And there's a deaf community that's out there, and we need to make that accessible. So myself and my assistant coach, we want to continue to build relationships with our major leagues here in the United States. We've also discovered that we have a player, we didn't discover him, but we discovered through him. There's opportunities abroad. So I have a player that lives in Manchester, who's American, who played in what is called the Deaf Champions League. We're now looking into finding out if there's more American players floating around over there inside this league and playing. So that'll be another area that we're going to tap into to try and find players that have experience of playing abroad, seeing different cultures, different things, to enhance our overall game understanding and grit and fortitude to deal with those kind of things. Also, we assess them internally based on home environment behaviors and choices. So again, going back to our sports science, since we've become a part of the program now a year, players have gone from not playing, like, and maybe they get in a rec league or do things, to really seeking out, those semi-pro leagues or getting back into college. I have two young men that were outside of the college ranks, but they're like, you know what, based on what the staff is asking, I better get involved in like a program here. So guys have reiterated into the academic world, which is fantastic. And then other guys have found ways to fit the values, and they've gone to vocational schools. So we do try and find a profile of an athlete that shows drive and value. So hopefully I answered your question well. The pool itself is diverse. I have a 16-year-old in there, even a 15-year-old. He will not make Tokyo this year, but he is definitely, his name is Noah. He's at the Colorado Rapids program right now, to give them a shout out, because they've done an amazing job of creating space for the deaf community, and Noah's thriving there, currently making their ECNL roster. So I hope he hears that, because he's definitely a part of our future. We want him to know that. But then we have a 35 and a 36-year-old guys that are legacy guys that have been around for a long time, that are educating the player pool and feeling the pressure of these young guys chomping at the bit to get into their seats, if you will. So we have a great player pool that's very diverse. We try and create a lot of mentorship within it. And if people are trying to get involved, film, the interest form, and knowing that myself and my staff and U.S. Soccer will be adding a scout to the ENT department as well. We'll be scurrying the different youth events and different things around the country to identify talent as well as we go forward. So hopefully that gives you some context of our pool.
Definitely. And I think something that's really interesting to me when I'm thinking about how this works is, obviously people are so used to hearing a whistle when there's a foul, hearing like just the referee interacting in that same way. What other differences besides that are there that people would be like, oh, that's different, that's cool? Or maybe you could bring them up to speed a little bit with like how the game's different in like the way than what they're used to.
Yeah. And before I go there, I would bring up Chris Burton. He is a winger for us. He was player of the year. And then we had Kevin Fitzpatrick and Raul, those three players, and they all fit into the question you just brought up. because obviously there's no whistle in the game. There's a flag. So the center referee has a flag to do that observationally. But otherwise, everything else is the same from able body hearing game. Okay. So there's really nothing that I would say, Kling, that is like what is different other than the lack of a whistle and a flag being in it. The rules are all the same. The field size are the same. The expectations are the same. It's just that you're in an environment where you can't hear each other, right? And that goes back to what you brought up, communication. I think when people watch the game is really take emphasis on how they communicate with each other and what that looks like. Because I've also learned that when we were at the Pan Am Games in Brazil, where we took third place, watching the Brazil team and the Argentinian team, how quickly they were able to communicate with each other. It allowed them to compete with what I believe we were the better team ultimately, but there was a little nuance that we were missing in that environment. So when you ask the question, what's a little bit different is that level of communication of human eye to eye, turning your heads, doing things, that is different, guys. Like that, the whistle, yeah, great. That's the aesthetics of the game, the things that make it what it is. But then there's this intangible piece that's hard to see if you just watch it on TV. That's the biggest difference, is that their level of body language reading, communication, body shape. I'll give you a quick one. Center backs position themselves better for me in this environment they would in my hearing environment, just because they want to have an angle where they can see more because they can't hear more, right? So there's a definite growth area there for, I think, everyone to kind of lean into as coaches and, as observers of just kind of the detail that they get into. And they educated me on that, by the way. I'm sharing what I have learned, not what I knew, by the way. So yeah.
Check engine, ABS, or maintenance light on? And O'Reilly Auto Parts is right around the corner. O'Reilly Auto Parts can help take the guesswork out of your vehicle's check engine, ABS, or maintenance light with O'Reilly Veriscan, a free service that only takes a couple of minutes to complete. You'll receive a free, easy-to-read report with solutions based on over 650 million vehicle scans that have been verified by ASE-certified master technicians. O'Reilly Veriscan can identify the most likely problem with just one scan. The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts can then recommend the parts and tools that you need to do the repair right the first time. And if you're not comfortable doing the repair yourself, they can recommend a local shop for you. Don't ignore check engine, ABS, or maintenance light. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today, a free service exclusively at O'Reilly Auto Parts. You mentioned the Deaf Pan American Games bronze medal there for your group, and now the Deaflympics coming up around the corner. So talk to us a little bit about what the event overall is and what it means for this group and this team.
Yeah, the event as a whole is our Olympics, right? So teams have to qualify for different ways and different ways. So that was the Pan Am Games for us. We had to get at least in the top 3 to qualify. So it was an exciting moment when we finished the game against Mexico, and everybody was celebrating. It was my first major event with the team. So it was cool because I wasn't as entrenched emotionally as I am today, right? It was me getting a task done and getting things over the line, and was so excited about that. And it meant a lot to the team. The Deaflympics is that next second major event for the gentlemen, for us as a whole, because you have your World Championships, which will be in 27. So we do have an open cycle next year. But the Deaflympics means a lot to the team. It means an opportunity to represent the country, go out and get gold, something that this program has been looking to do. So when I came into the seat, that was kind of like when you don't want to come in and say, this is what we're going to do, guys. It was more like, hey, guys, what do you want to do and how do I help you? And this was on their list. Like, this is one of their things. So for the players, you said, let's talk about the players. What does it mean to the team? If you have a board, it's number 2, right? From a competitive standpoint, there's the World Championships, there's the Deaflympics. That's where they're at. And it also means a succession and a legacy for the team. You'll hear them talk about that, I hope, because you do have a nice transition going on, is that the guys that have been around, the real pioneers, they're aging, if you will. So they really want this to be there, and it's been cool to see the young guys kind of grab onto that. So it means a lot both for seasoned veterans, if you will, and it's nice to see how the young guys see this as an opportunity for them to make a mark for themselves. And I think that's value add, is that you have these young athletes, MLS next guys, college guys, that are getting international caps. They're playing against proper teams. We have Ukraine and we have Senegal. Ukraine is currently ranked number 1 in the deaf FIFA, and Senegal's 5. So what an opportunity for these young men to go out and say, like, I played the number 1 deaf team in the world who's shown to be champions. They do well. They're funded. And they're hoping that that gives them some opportunities, beyond just their college programs, beyond what they're doing here. So yeah, getting gold and being winners means a lot to the entire scope of the program as a whole.
And so, how has preparation been going for the Deaflympics? Like, is the team ready? What are they looking like?
Oh man, I'm biased, of course, because you got to go see the opponent. As like you can feel really good in camp and like do some things. So, no, we're in a great place. I'm super happy. We just celebrate this coming out of camp here, not too long ago in Atlanta. We've had friendlies that we've played. Some great clubs, Alexandria, Inter Atlanta. Everyone's doing their best to kind of get us some matches and do some stuff. We're blessed. We've gone undefeated for majority of that. There was one half we kind of lost our marbles, but that was a part of the process, and we grew from that. But I would say this: we play all hearing teams, guys, right? And we give them the variables of like unlimited subs, and I keep my guys in a FIFA structure, so they're playing a full 90 sometimes, or somebody come at the 60th minute, whatever it might be, and we're winning. Right. So right now we're playing teams that do have that communication. They have the ability to make adjustments, and we're not. And the guys are adapting. David Kling to say, like, for me as a coach, to see a team that can deal with the stress and the levels that have been put in front of the guys, because there's been some good, like, big men that we played against, and I have some little guys or some, profile guys, and to see them step up to the plate, it's been great. And my last testimonial of that is imagine a really high level game where you're a coach or a fan and you're sitting there like, whoa, we're getting overrun right now. Like, what do I do? Right. And I can't yell out to fix things. I just can't go, hey guys, change your shape. Let's overload the blood, whatever. To see them just rise and keep rising and deal with it, and then end the half 2-0, you're like, all right, guys, we're in the right space. Let's go. Right, so they grabbed onto that. They loved it, and we've been riding that high for a while. And I think, after October in that camp, we'll really know where we're at. But yeah, like I said, I'm biased, but I think we're ready to go win gold, guys. I think they're in a great place.
Is there a playbook of this is how you prep for this tournament, and that's a decision to play teams that aren't in the deaf world, or is that just a decision that you all made coming into this Deaflympics?
Great question. There is no playbook. We are making the playbook as we go.
Nice.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of coaching. So that was a strategic, again, Stuart and Morgan creating a great environment to challenge me as a coach. One of the things they do is ask you to design an annual periodization plan. So when I was thinking about that and trying to think about strategies to help my group prepare, our group, that was one of the things I want to do. If I can do this against hearing teams, then what can I do against a team that's equal to us with that hearing loss part, right? So we have created that for our development to, one, build us mentally, but also build us physically, so that when we do compete in our environment where things are for the most part equal, we have a sense of confidence that we've done it against people that theoretically should do it better than us. So yeah, there is no playbook, but we've done that strategically to get ourselves both mentally and physically prepared. For sure.
Okay, one more question from me. And you've been talking about the legacy a lot of this team and this group. And I played for the U.S. Women's National Team for a period of time. And I always thought one of the coolest and most, like, the things that I was most proud of was how we changed the landscape of soccer for everybody else, and how we weren't just playing soccer. We were actually putting, like, women's rights on our shoulders, or pay equality, or human rights on our shoulders, and like supporting those different causes. I was wondering, it seems like the deaf teams are kind of doing the same thing.
100%. And I'm glad that came through today, because that is important. Yes, they have this opportunity to do exactly that. I don't know the magnitude. I don't know the exact things. Like, I'm assuming you guys were in that seat too. Is like, whoa, we have this platform. We have this opportunity. Let's bring these things to light. Yes, the deaf men and deaf women are in a great position to, especially as I said earlier, in our country where you have this MLS next environment, you have the ECNL for the women. Um, there are probably young ladies and young gentlemen that have hearing impairments that have a coach at a young age that are dismissing them because of the hearing impairment, right? We don't know how to work with them. Whereas I'm hoping that through this experience that we do open up some eyes in clubs, in the MLS next, in the ECNL, because what I've learned is the players have quality and they have intangibles that add value, not just on the field, but off the field to expand our reach of the sport, which is an objective of U.S. soccer to be world class and to grow the game and do these things. So yeah, they have a tremendous opportunity to support the mission of U.S. soccer, support and open up the community, and also open up the minds and eyes of us as coaches, right? We've opened up coaching experiences for bilingual coaches right now, right? But what have we done for us to start thinking about working with a CP, working with a deaf community? So yeah, all those things, Kling, they're on the horizon, and we are. By the way, I want to say that out loud. Thank you for your time with the U.S. team because it was amazing to watch you and what you guys all
Thank
have
you.
done. Yeah, it's freaking awesome. But yeah, these gentlemen and the ladies on the women's team have a similar thing they're growing into. And I'm a guy that thinks out into the future. I'm a vision kind of person. 10 years from now, you could be doing the same thing. Maybe the world championships are better televised on streaming or things of that nature. Like we're small now, we get it, but this is a great moment to at least get the word out, let people be realize that. So yeah, you nailed it, Kling. Legacy is something they grabbed onto. And we'll see how it goes.
It's definitely an inflection point. It feels like something to be super proud of. I was just wondering though, what's your most proud moment in this job so far? Feels like there's a lot, but can you pick one?
I can. Opening up others to ASL and seeing that as an opportunity to communicate because it's peaceful. You know, being in a room with gentlemen and ladies that are trying to use body language and read each other. That moment of, like I mentioned earlier, one of our athletes that he tremendous soccer player, but wasn't the first one I would think would be, trying to do some ASL stuff. And when he did, and you can see we went from, we started creating our common language. It was a meeting that I would have during camp that was like 15 minutes of engagement. And then it was kind of like, ooh, kind of off to the wilderness, to fast forward about 8 months, a few camps under our belt, being consistent to it, taking the full breadth of an hour meeting that they were coming up with new ideas and new language and seeing them put it on video for each other on their WhatsApp apps and creating a video dialogue. So when I have new players entering the camp, they'll get a video of like, hey, here's our common words. See one of my guys doing it, right? So this was their innovations, right? So to see them embrace the idea like, hey, we know coach is going to bring some new people in. They might know ASL, they might not. They might know the coach culture, they may not. What can we do to bring and raise that person up, make them feel more acclimated to the environment quicker? That's been the amazing thing, is seeing them take on the process, is seeing them be innovative on how they support others. And I'm just blessed to sit in the seat that they call head coach.
There's a video show, by the way, as well. Can you show us some?
Of the video, I can't today bring it up that quickly, but at any other time we definitely could. But yeah, they do have a video. US Soccer has been amazing to help build that out, so they'll video us at camp, and that's one of our
But
internal
can you
things.
teach us some of the signs?
Oh yeah, definitely. That, so you see those? Yep, Cling.
All I know is weird and confusing, I think. Those are
Sure.
the
So
only
my
two
big
I
ones are
know.
like fast. Like if you want them to go fast, use something like that. You want to do that. Good morning, because we say that one a lot when we're coming into there. So yeah, it's the sun rising. So you usually would have your hand there. Yep. Just very
Love it.
simple like that. Your simple is no or yes. Yep. And I use this one a lot. Do you understand? So just a simple point up. So like I'll finish doing what I'm doing and just, hey, do you guys understand what I'm saying? And they're like, yeah. Or they'll say something and I go, what? So you gotta have little things like, I don't understand what you are saying to me. So there's little things like that. And then from a soccer perspective, I did one earlier. So if I want them to break the lines a little bit more,
Mm.
so very simple. I want them to do that one. Yep. So you can imagine if you're in the back there and I want you to get to the fours, I'd be like looking at you. Yep, exactly. And then you look at me and go there, and I go, very easy.
Much
right?
easier.
Yep, much easy. Or I could point to you, be like, hey, that would be, we want a diamond in the middle,
Love
right?
it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I got it. So now you know where your entry points are as far as when we're in maybe a build-up phase or different things like that. So just little things like that, guys, like either fast or break lines, be in the middle, do you understand me? Um, it's really helped me simplify that. So yeah, just showing you like some very quick ones. So like I am not fluent in sign by any stretch. Conversational is what I would say, but it's been beautiful to see how you can relate to soccer language and the ideas. And Kling, I think even just you and I real quick on a connection, you're like, yeah, that kind of makes sense to me. Like, I don't know all that, but if he's like in the middle and I need to break lines, then yeah, I'm going to look in there. Right. And the person you're connected with your relationship, you know, they're coming to help you to break lines at the end of the day. And now
I also
you
think it's
go
just
on.
like it's like such a calm way to get your
Yes.
point across. Sometimes my coaches are like freaking out, and you can see Pep Guardiola like having a burst vein in his neck on the sideline from so much yelling. And I'm sure that has to stress the players out. So I just imagine this is a better way altogether.
Yes. I have come to, again, I said it earlier, we live in a culture where American players, I hate to say it that way, that we do have the auditor because we don't watch the game enough, right? We just don't, right? I think one of the things I've learned about being in a national team, my profile of players, they're soccer nuts. They love the game, so it makes it easier. So as a teacher, there still needs to be some conversation in how we deliver that. Yes, you're right. If we're too demonstrative, you're going to stress out the athlete or the learner. But if you bring sign language into it, I just had a session here in Cleveland, where soccer is fantastic, by the way, David. I don't know about that Pittsburgh place, but yeah, but the soccer
Oh
here,
my gosh.
I had some little people, I think like U10s and U11 little ladies, and I chose to just teach them a little bit of sign. I taught them about what to do in the middle. I told them I want to be compact, right? I want them to be compact where I'm defending. And the level of enjoyment, because I'm not yelling things. And then when you show them like, hey, Josie, she's like, "The middle coach?" I'm like, "Yeah." And they see that as fun, right? They're reading it's like, because again, I can go on for hours about this, guys. But remember when we're most of the babies, we all know this, right? This baby sign, like we all want more, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they start to think, "Hey, I remember my mom and dad used to do that." Yeah, exactly. So already you're just changing the brain to be calm, right? And what do you want from an athlete? Calm under pressure. And so I've really tried to, yeah, dive into it the best I can and bring it home. And even in my household, like with my daughter, like my little Zelda, sometimes like, Dad, what's this mean? Let's do that. And instead of yelling at people, it's just much easier just to do that. I said it earlier. I have changed 180 at home because I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna be the scary guy on the sideline yelling at you. I don't want to be that. I want you to have fun. So yeah, it's been cool. It's been a cool
So,
experience.
so you mentioned earlier for people who want to play, send video, get in contact with the U.S. Federation. I know we had Stuart on, and he walked everyone through going on the website for the extended national teams, and that's how you can find all the information for every single one of them. But for following, for getting involved, like you've got a Deaflympics coming up, you've got the doubleheader in Hartford, Connecticut coming up. Like, how can fans engage with this team?
Social media. Yeah, I am not a social media person. Right? I kept it away from my kid until she was 16 years old. I'm not a guy. So all that to say, there's no social media. Website is the best. Instagram, all those fun things they do. The guys as well are very into it. We have a couple new guys that are TikTok, got tons of followers because they're just who they are. They're tricky on the ball. They do these different things. So yeah, the best way to get involved is obviously the website, social media, and just becoming an advocate, you know, if you can, for all that these guys and young ladies are doing. So yeah, those are your best ways.
Amazing. We're so excited to follow your success at the Deaflympics, following up on the Pan American bronze and trying to go one step further. But no matter what, we're going to be big fans here on this show. We're going to continue talking about this team and many of the other extended national teams as we go along. But Everett, we appreciate you taking the time to join us.
No, absolutely. Thank you for having us. And not to go too far away from our sport of football, but I think the Steelers are going to have a rough time of it this year, just so we're all aware of that, right? I
I
love
think the
Tomlinson.
Browns know about rough seasons, so
We do. That's why I'm
yeah.
saying that you're going to have one. I've seen it for decades here. I know what the
Oh,
recipe looks
decades and
like.
decades and decades.
But no, all that to be said, they have an amazing coach there in Pittsburgh because I listen to his information, take quotes from Mr. Tomlinson all the time. But I had to get that last one in that I've seen this recipe. I actually said decades and decades of it, and we still have 5 quarterbacks for some reason in Cleveland. Sorry, Browns. Mr. Haslam, I respect all you guys. But yeah, at the end of the day, thank you for having me, and I love the banter, and I thank you for supporting the program. The gentlemen and the ladies will be very, very excited about it, and they deserve it. They're working very hard, guys.
Well, thank you once again to Everett for taking the time. And now we are excited for our next segment, something new on the show today, but we're going to be doing it going forward. It is Ask the Pros, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts, and you are welcome. I will not sing the song, but it will be in my head for the rest of the day. This is where you can ask a question for Kling, for Ale, or if for some reason you'd like to, for me as well, and we'll get back to you and answer it on the show. And we start with someone from my neck of the woods, Ashley S. from Coral Gables, Florida. And it's for you, Kling. And it says, for young girls aspiring to follow in your footsteps and play for the U.S. women's national team, what's the one piece of advice you'd share based on your journey from Pittsburgh to the world stage?
Well, thank you, Ashley, for writing in. This is so exciting to talk about because I really don't think there's one road to get to where you want to go. There will be plenty of opportunities, and you just need to make sure you take them. And the one piece of advice that I would say is play with joy, bring your best every single day that you can, and try not to focus on the outcomes because you aren't in control of them. Focus on what you can control and make sure that you're showing up and giving your 100%, your all. And I guarantee if you show up this way, that you'll look back in 3 months, 9 months, 1 year, 2 years, and you'll be like, wow, I've gotten so much better. And focus on that.
That's a great answer. And how lucky are we that people get to ask a World Cup winner a question? It is a pretty special opportunity. Let's close out with our last question here from Mark J. in Houston. And it's a question for me. As a podcast host, how do you decide which topics or narratives to amplify to keep the soccer community engaged, especially during the off season? And I think it's a funny question because the thing about soccer is there is no off season.
No off season.
I will tell you, as someone who for a very long time has covered Major League Soccer and NWSL pretty much full time, and of course talking about the national teams, is the moment the final ends, the world record transfer breaks 2 days later. That leads to a coach being let go, a new coach being hired into preseason. And on all of that, you're still watching Lyon play, and you're still watching Botafogo play, and you're still watching the game. I think it's the beauty of soccer. From 5 a.m. through midnight, 365 days a year, there is always soccer, and it's always happening. And what I love about U.S. soccer is because it's so diverse and so globally connected, we are always in touch with those stories. So whether it's an American player or coach or scout working in a different league somewhere else, former players who have played here, connecting in other places, teams that we cover consistently will play in the future, whatever it is, you're at most 1 degree separated. And it means that there's always soccer to talk about. There's always soccer to watch. I'm sure, Kling, you always felt there was always soccer to run for and practice for and everything else in during all of your quote unquote off seasons. But it's a great question, Mark, and it's something that we are exploring here at the U.S. Soccer Podcast. You will have noticed, right? We were in camps with the teams when they were in camps, and now we're getting to explore all of the depth and width of the sport throughout the region, throughout the federation, from top to bottom. And we cannot wait for what's to come. We've got some really cool stuff already in the books. We've got some cool stuff already planned, and the show is only going to continue to get better. And make sure that next time, when you get to this segment, it is your question that we are answering. So you can ask the pros, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts. We will see you next week on the U.S. Soccer Podcast. Don't forget to follow us anywhere on social media, as well as anywhere you get your podcast, so you never miss an episode. And we will talk to you again very, very soon.